Janice, I've got a great idea for another episode.
Really? What is it?
Let's teach everybody how to work their way to heaven.
I have a better idea. But you're going to have to stick around to watch.
Welcome, everyone. We're excited to share some country wisdom with you.
King Solomon had a thing or two to say about the path to wisdom. In Proverbs 4, he wrote, "Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Keep straight the path of your feet, and all your ways will be sure."
Join us now for country wisdom. I am so happy we're out on a sunny day on the ocean. It's been anything but sunny. You know, Janice, looking out at the sea, I've been a scuba diver for many years. And there's one fish that always is pretty incredible to me, and that's an angler fish. They can get 3.5 feet long, got a big old ugly mouthful of teeth, but nobody sees that normally. That's kind of hidden. They've got this little pole and a little teeny appendage that looks like a little bitty fish. And so they sit out there and they fish. And another little fish comes along and thinks, oh, I'm gonna get a hold of this. And all of a sudden it's gulp, right, and totally swallows it, you know. It's not what it pretends to be.
Nope, it's one of many fish and creatures in nature that are complete imposters. And I know that there is a segue in my head here. Do you remember a television show that actually aired right about the same time I did? I think that it was the same year, To Tell the Truth.
That's, before my time.
No, that is not, because you were before my time. But in To Tell the Truth, they would have people on whose faces were not extremely well known. It would be like the guy who did the voice of Bugs Bunny. I remember another one was Queen Elizabeth's wine taster. That's a real job. And you'd have 3 people. One of them was the real person. 2 of them, obviously, are imposters. And they've just studied up so they can sound like the real person and answer questions. And the panel of people had to figure out which one was the real one and which 2 were imposters. And then they would vote. And very often, it was one of the imposters who actually convinced the panel.
Yeah.
They looked and sounded more like Queen Elizabeth's wine taster than the real one.
The real wine taster.
The real one,
yeah.
And I was just wondering, have you ever felt like an imposter?
Well, no, but I've had things kind of bother me. I'll just be kind of right up front. When I first started doing a television show many years ago, I was really surprised that, the leadership picked me to do it. And I can remember actually standing in the shower one day, and I'm showering thinking, I'm on TV all over the world. How did that happen? Lord, please don't let this go to my head. I'm not worthy to do this. So, yeah, I mean.
So you can relate a little bit.
I can relate to that.
Because there's actually a genuine psychological, like you can look this up, there is something called Imposter Syndrome. And I read this list, it's called the Clance scale, where, do you fear evaluation? Are you, well, as I put it with me, pathologically insecure? I take insecurity to a whole new level.
You use that title quite a bit in relationship to you.
Yes, because it so perfectly fits. I'm sure if you looked up that term, it would be my picture next to it as the illustration, the poster child for insecurity. I have a recurring dream, and it's always when I'm back in college. And I'm sitting in a classroom, and all of a sudden it dawns on me that I don't have anything on. And because it's a dream, supposedly nobody else has noticed yet. But this fear washes over me like any minute now, somebody is going to notice that I don't have my clothes on.
And you're not the emperor.
No. And that is imposter syndrome. And I read that women are much more prone to it, which is probably no surprise. I think women, or maybe it's just because I am female, that I understand women better. And I know that it seems like we tend to be more insecure than men. I'll have to take your word for it if men do too. But they said 70% of people will have that at some point in their life. And I was shocked by that. But the thing that shocked me was there are 30% of people
That don't.
who've never felt that way.
Well, Janice, I've got to tell you, I'm thinking back and I can remember Terry and I were filming a full production program in which we were going to feature a very prominent individual. And I told Terry, I said, I know someone who can do that. And I remember calling you up and I explained the situation to you. You said, no, I can't do that. No, I'm not only can I do that, I'm not worthy to even play that position. And you remember what I told you? I said, exactly for that reason, that's what I want you for, because you don't have the ego in there to shine out the ego. You're just going to be the part. But yet you're scared to death to do that part. But bottom line, praise the
Somehow
Lord,
it worked. It turned out okay.
You did a masterful job by God's grace.
That bleeds into my life in a number of different areas. When I had kids, I was scared to death of Colin. I did not think that I could be a good mother. It's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to ruin this kid. This was a bad idea.
Postpartum syndrome a little bit?
Oh, horrible. Postpartum. You've heard of postpartum blues. Mine was postpartum black. But part of it was, leftover. I knew where the feelings came from. And clearly, the second time around, I was much more confident. Colin was 3 by that point, and I knew that I was an okay mom. But I still, anytime one of the kids had an issue, I just knew it was my fault. I never stopped to think, oh, they probably get that from their dad, because I can't think of a single bad thing that they've, other than Colin now tells puns. That is something bad he got from his dad. But I always just knew it's probably my fault. It's probably my fault. And so mothering is one area. Professionally, like you said, anytime someone suggests a new project to me, my first instinct is, I can't do that. The first time someone said, hey, those plays that you do, you should really take them to the big theater. Not Hollywood, but, the big theater in town. And
which, so people know, you do wonderful, you write wonderful scripts on the Bible, which really bring it to life. Just
right.
So people know, it's incredible stuff.
But that also bleeds over not just in my personal life, like with mothering, and my professional life with any new project where I'm pretty sure that I can't do that. But it actually bleeds over into my spiritual life. And that is much more bothersome, much more worrisome, because really, who cares how confident I feel as a mother? Ultimately, who cares? My kids have turned out okay, or at least mostly okay. Who cares what I achieve professionally or don't?
So
spiritually.
If some of the 70% is watching you today and saying, yeah, that's me, how did you get out of this mess?
Well, that's a longer story than we have time for, but what I want to talk about is the spiritual aspect. My grandmother's favorite hymn was Blessed Assurance. I love that hymn also. But I realized I don't think I have blessed assurance. So how do you get there?
Wait a second. You're sitting here on a spiritual television program and you're saying,
admitting I still have those feelings.
Still have it.
Yeah. Not all the time. It's not like I feel that way all the time. But the big question is, if you can't absolutely feel like you've got the blessed assurance of salvation, we need to examine why.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the good thing is I think we talked about it in another program, but one of my old favorite preachers, and he was an old preacher, I loved to go listen to him, He that has the Son has eternal life. Not may have, might have, someday going to have. He has eternal life. And that should give you that joy springing up in you that, yes, regardless of what I'm like, what I've done to God, God loves me and He's going to take care of me.
So I have a text that I have on my phone that I'd like to read you, and we're going to get into that just a little bit. The world is full of trouble and chaos, but sometimes the worst turmoil is inside us. The Bible promises that no matter how sinful, helpless, and wounded you are right now, God can fill you with a peace that goes beyond all comprehension. If you'd like to claim that promise, I'd like to send you a pamphlet called The Promise of Peace. It's absolutely free. Go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org and request offer number 120 to order your copy today. You know the impact of Christ's message. It heals, it transforms. Do you have the eye for a great post, the heart for a kind comment, the skill to build community?
Talking Donkey International is looking for passionate volunteers, from seasoned content creators to newcomers.
We are a Christian community dedicated to sharing Christ's love.
This is a real opportunity to turn your time into ministry. Scan the QR code
to make a lasting impact.
No one could ever calculate the amount of sacrifice that went into the making of this great nation. The gains of so many because of the loss of the precious few. As a child in school, I sang America the Beautiful, God bless America. We started every day by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But a lot has changed. Biblical predictions are taking shape at an amazing pace. If you're about my age, you know that this is not the country we all grew up in. It seems like this nation is rushing toward a cliff with no possibility of return. When I became a Christian, I began studying biblical prophecy, last day events. I found a book called The Great Controversy that was amazing in its clarity. If you'd like a copy, log on to our website.
To order your free copy of The Great Controversy, go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org. Click on the Store tab and order your copy today.
I think one of the problems that I had growing up, feeling like I could claim that blessed assurance, is feeling like somehow that was presumptive to just be able to say, I'm saved. It's like, well, it seems like that's a little bit, bragging.
There's a difference between being saved, though, the way a lot of people use it today, and having Christ in your life, walking with Him every day. There can be a big difference.
People who take advantage of, I'm saved, so it doesn't matter what I do.
Yeah.
I just felt like somehow that was almost like bragging, so you should be careful, and maybe, it wasn't ladylike to claim that you had salvation. But mostly I realized I had a big problem comparing myself to other Christians. Firstly, because it seemed like, you'd listen to someone talk in church, you'd have a special speaker, missionaries would come, and I think they have some of the most wonderful, inspiring conversion stories where they came from this to this. You've got a pretty good one too. I am so vanilla. I never dealt drugs. I was never an alcoholic.
But your story is one that touches so many people because of your story.
I just feel like mine's just so normal. One time I was it was a women's retreat, and I was doing one of my biblical monologues, and I was just the special feature of the weekend, not the main speaker or anything, but they asked me if I would mind the next day giving my testimony. And I said yes, and then that night I'm on the phone with my daughter Aaliyah going, what have I done? I don't have a testimony, and I made the crack, I'm so vanilla. And our daughter, who of course is Ethiopian, she goes, Mom, you are not vanilla. This family is not vanilla. She says, at the very at the very least, we're chocolate swirl ever since I arrived, which just made me laugh.
Oh, that's cute.
And of course, I told the story. I
Where did our
included
sun go? It's getting cooler already.
I know, it's because we were just talking about how warm we were.
Yeah, yeah.
But I realized I'm comparing my story to people who have much better stories, much more inspiring stories, and comparing myself to things that other Christians have done, have accomplished.
Well, cool. The sun's back, but I can't say cool because it's really getting warmer again.
No, it got cool when it went away,
Yeah.
noticeably different. So I was talking about feeling insecure about not having a really wow kind of conversion story, because I honestly can't point to when I was converted. Grew up in at least a nominally Christian family. My grandmothers, took me to church. I just always grew up with it, but at some point it has to become yours,
Yeah.
not just a ritual you do. Well, I was raised that way. Jesus has to become real to you. But it was not in a lightning bolt moment. You, I think, can point to like a date. It was on this day. I was a changed person. And for me, somehow having the more through my lifetime, your love for Christ just growing, and you start understanding more, and you start needing Him more and recognizing that
That's
need.
the key.
But that doesn't seem quite as impressive.
But that's where, as they say, the rubber meets the road. Your experience is what everybody needs. Growing daily in Christ changes you.
And then the other big issue that I recognized I had was comparing myself, not just comparing my story to other people's story. And would this make a good book or not? Would anyone read, my story? But recognizing when I'm comparing myself to other Christians. Because I have a friend who gets up at 5 a.m. In fact, she might now be starting in at 4:30, but getting up an hour before anybody else in the house to study and to have prayer. And I know I should do that. And yet I do not set my alarm for 5 a.m.
You and Felix the cat, right? You just want to roll over and sleep a little longer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've got to tell you, I was thinking as you're talking here, we called you again for something, and it was to join this program. And that was many years ago now. And I get the feeling that you'd watched a lot of people on television. You'd seen all these things. You'd seen us on television. Oh, I can't do that, Comparing yourself again to somebody else rather than listening to the voice of God saying, no, go ahead and do that.
What is it? All of His callings or enablings. If God is calling you to do something,
Good point.
He'll show you how to get it done. But yeah, that's why I say I'm pathologically insecure, because my first reaction to anything is, I don't think I can do that. But I look at other Christians who have better discipline, so their prayer and study life is way better than mine. I look at people who go to the mission field. I love reading stories about people who've gone to the mission field. I remember you invited me. You were going to be doing meetings in India. And you said, Janice, we'd love to have you come along. And I flat out refused. And you said, what if God wants you to go to India? And I still remember that, it might have been a little bit flippant, but I said, the angel Gabriel himself would have to come and tell me. And even then I'd probably argue.
That probably was a little bit risky. But, I'm thinking of that situation and what God calls us to. He calls each one of us individually. And everything I've heard you talking about is you're looking at everybody else rather than the one who really matters.
The world is full of trouble and chaos, but sometimes the worst turmoil is inside us. The Bible promises that no matter how sinful, helpless, and wounded you are right now, God can fill you with a peace that goes beyond all comprehension. If you'd like to claim that promise, I'd like to send you a pamphlet called The Promise of Peace. It's absolutely free. Go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org and request offer number 120 to order your copy today. You know the impact of Christ's message. It heals, it transforms. Do you have the eye for a great post, the heart for a kind comment, the skill to build community?
Talking Donkey International is looking for passionate volunteers, from seasoned content creators to newcomers.
We are a Christian community dedicated to sharing Christ's love.
This is a real opportunity to turn your time into ministry. Scan the QR code.
To make a lasting impact.
No one could ever calculate the amount of sacrifice that went into the making of this great nation. The gains of so many because of the loss of the precious few. As a child in school, I sang America the Beautiful, God bless America. We started every day by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But a lot has changed. Biblical predictions are taking shape at an amazing pace. If you're about my age, you know that this is not the country we all grew up in. It seems like this nation is rushing toward a cliff with no possibility of return. When I became a Christian, I began studying biblical prophecy, last day events. I found a book called The Great Controversy that was amazing in its clarity. If you'd like a copy, log on to our website.
To order your free copy of The Great Controversy, go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org. Click on the Store tab and order your copy today.
So I realized my whole issue was I looking at Christ or was I looking at other better Christians and judging myself by them? But then I remembered Paul, the Apostle Paul. He said the same thing. He obviously had to, at some point in his life, have had the same problem of judging himself based on everything that he had done.
Yeah.
Rather than basing himself on being in Christ. And he talked about the fact, it's Philippians 3, chapter 3.
Yeah,
You're already ahead of me. You're
I've
looking
got
it
it here.
up.
Yeah, Philippians 3, he starts earlier, but verse 4, though I might also have confidence in the flesh.
Meaning in myself.
In myself, yeah. If any other man thinks that he has wherever he might trust in the flesh or more, I'm the one that can really trust in the flesh. I was circumcised on the 8th day. For the Jews, that was really something. Of the stock of Israel, he gets a little bigger here. Of the tribe of Benjamin, he stands up
Even
a little
better.
more. Hebrew of Hebrews, as touching on the law of Pharisee. He was trained, he was a great Pharisee.
Yeah.
Remember the Pharisees Jesus talked about, those that stand up in the corner in the marketplace and have their prayers and they've got all the glorious robes? This is Paul, And then he says, but these things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Christ.
Everything that other people had been looking at Paul and going, look at that. He does everything in the law. He's a Pharisee among Pharisees. And he's going, that's nothing. That is literally nothing.
Yeah.
None of that made a difference. So if I had lived in his time, he's someone I'd be looking at and going, oh,
And
I do not measure up to Paul.
You know what he said all of his righteousness was like? I'm a horse owner. I've got it all over the corrals.
Right.
It's as dung.
Right.
That's all my righteousness is worth. And I want to submit to you, Janice, that as you were in the past looking at these people too, you have no idea what their real relationship is like with God. And you can't see inside. They can do all the good stuff outside.
They might be checking off all the boxes.
They can go on mission trips and they can pray in church and they can stand up and teach a Sunday school lesson. But what's it really like in the heart?
I mentioned that recurring dream of mine, being back in school and thinking any minute now someone's going to actually notice that I'm not wearing anything. Imposter syndrome is that feeling that if people really knew what you were like, they wouldn't think you were such a great Christian anymore. But there's another dream that is similar, where I try to picture being in the kingdom someday. And I literally have this image of myself kind of backing up against the wall, hoping that if nobody notices I'm here, they won't throw me out. Because any minute now, someone's going to go, wait a minute, Janice is here? There's got to be a mistake, saying, can you check those books again? Because I knew her.
Yeah.
And
I've got a perfect thing for that. Is I've got
well, it better be short because I've got a story.
A writer
too.
that I really enjoy and says that we will enter heaven knowing we have a perfect right to be there because Jesus sacrificed for us and it's all about Him.
People who have the blessed assurance because they're
Yeah.
not looking at themselves.
Yep.
They're not looking at the church members around them. They are only looking at Christ.
Amen.
I read a story. There's an author that I admire only because he's so successful. I honestly have only read one of his books. His name is Neil Gaiman. He's a British author. He has won like the Newbery Award for one of his children's books. He's won awards like the National British Book of the Year, you know, and I do a little writing, you know, and have been mildly successful. He was invited to this event of people who were, you know, outstanding in their fields. And he said he felt so out of place among people who were really great, who had really done good things, and all he'd ever done was write a few books. And he was in the back of the room, the way I envisioned myself in the kingdom, and he got to talking to another gentleman who he recognized, and they kind of connected because they both had the same first name. And he was talking, and he said, this older gentleman that was there said, you know, I look around this room at everybody here, and I feel like I don't belong in this group. And Neil Gaiman looks at him in astonishment, and he said, but you were the first man on the moon. And he says when he's writing this later, he goes, he realized if Neil Armstrong can feel like he's never really done much, he just went where they sent him,
Yeah.
then maybe everybody has that issue. And it made me think, if I feel that way in my spiritual life, I'm probably not the only person who looks at themselves and feels like, there's no way, I haven't done enough. But it's not a sticker chart that we have to fill. You know, remember when you're in elementary school filling those
Yeah,
little
little stars.
gold stars?
Yeah.
You know, if there are any of you out there who are looking at yourselves, comparing yourselves to other Christians, who are going, oh, I've barely done anything, you know, some days I have a hard time being nice. If that's you, don't think of your life as you have to show that sticker chart to God at the pearly gates and show that you filled in every square with a gold star, because the chart is filled with Christ's stars, and your piddly little star isn't going to add anything to that chart. It's not like you go, oh, I did this one thing, I went on a mission trip. There, now that's my ticket in. It's just one solid mass of gold stars with Christ's name on it. And in Christ's family, you're part of His family. Scripture tells us that He chose us while we were still sinners, and there are no imposters in His family.
Thank you for watching. Join us again for another exciting Country Wisdom.
See you next time.